Welcome back to News 8 Morning Extra. We often hear a lot about the female empowerment movement, and while that's widely supported and encouraged, my next guest says there's a boy crisis going on that's not being addressed. Author and Dr. Warren Farrell wrote the book called The Boy Crisis, Why Our Boys Are Struggling and What We Can Do About It. He's here in our studio this morning. First of all, thank you so much for coming in. As a mother of two boys, I'm very interested in what you have to say here.
I'm really glad.
Let's talk about what the boy crisis is, in your opinion. What's happening?
In all 63 developed nations, I found that boys were falling behind girls in reading, writing, even now in math and science. And then I started looking further because I write books on men and women, and so this was of interest to me because these are the future men and women. And I started to see that they were also doing much worse psychologically, socially, physical health. Their IQs were going down from where they were 15 years ago. They were having, the sperm count was lower. So I'm saying something is really wrong here. And then I realized that it was in developed nations, there is permission for divorce and permission to raise children without being married. So I started investigating to see whether that was a cause, and I found that when there was a divorce and the fathers and mothers were equally involved, and when there was permission to have children without being married and the father remained involved, those children did very well. But where the father did not remain involved, those children did very poorly on more than 70 different measures.
Wow. And so the absence of a father in a child's life, in a young boy's life, is having lifelong lasting impacts.
Lifelong lasting impacts. Even by the age of 9, the telomeres of boys, the part of the genes that are necessary to be long, if they are long, that predicts a longer life. The telomeres of the boys are 19% shorter.
This is fascinating stuff. You also noticed some similarities between some of these mass shooting events and the suspects behind the guns. What are you finding in some of these situations?
Well, if you think of Adam Lanza, if you think of Stephen Paddock, if you think of Nicholas Cruz, if you think of Elliot Rogers, or Dylan Roof, Charleston Church, all of these are boys that had minimal or no father involvement, usually from divorced homes, and where there was a sense on the part of the boy that he was abandoned. And those boys, what happens is that those boys usually do not get one of the contributions of dads, which tends to be boundary enforcement. And when boys don't have boundary enforcement, they usually don't do well in school, they don't fulfill their dreams of being a basketball player or whatever. They start becoming ashamed of themselves. And
I think that's an excellent point. I want to go back to that real quick. Boundary enforcement. What is that exactly? And for parents that the dad may not be involved in the picture, can the mother make up for that?
Yes. First of all, the mothers can do boundary enforcement, and mothers can do roughhousing, and mothers can do a lot of what dads contribute. They can't reflect the role model of a father nearly as much, but a lot of the things that make boys successful, for example, mothers and fathers will both say to their children, you can't have your ice cream until you finish your peas. But if the child complains, mom will usually try to be empathetic and say, Mom's give in. Yes, exactly. And dads go, excuse me, we had a deal here. You can't have your ice cream until you finish your peas. And if you continue whining, there'll be no ice cream tomorrow night either. And so the ADHD rate among children raised predominantly by dads is only half of what it is raised predominantly by moms, because the children with moms learn they can manipulate a better deal. With dads, they know they have to focus their attention on something that they need to do, like finish the peas before they get what they want to do.
And ultimately, it's delayed gratification, which is a huge thing that all children need to learn.
Postponed gratification.
I'm telling you, we could have a 3-hour conversation on this topic, and I wish we had time for that. But the book is called The Boy Crisis. Where can folks find this book?
Fortunately, it's on Amazon and most Barnes & Nobles, and so pretty much anywhere.
All right, fantastic. Dr. Warren Farrell, thank you so much for your time this morning. By the way, new grandson?
A new grandson.
How old is he?
10 months old.
Oh, fantastic, and congratulations.
Much cuter than I am.
Somehow I believe you there.
Yes, I absolutely true.
All right, thanks.